Good afternoon, how are you? I'm kind of at a loss for words about how to describe what we call the Epstein affair. Of the deeper, darker, horrible things anyone could do is to take advantage of a child. Intimately, sexually, deceiving them rather than showing them trust. Knowing somewhere in the back of the inhumanity of the act that you're not only defiling a child presently, it reaches down the years of that child's life and could lead to any number of terrible things. Great psychological damage, physical damage perhaps. Driving a person, who knows, to suicide. It's also become a defining moment in our government. This toxin, this cancer, has been eating at the virtue of America. And we're at a point where it has the capacity to take over all that's good and decent and historic and noble, because the ink in the pure water of a lifetime spread and destroyed children. And the people who did it walked the earth. One may be among the most powerful men on the planet, or powerful leader on the planet, Trump. Trump, who knows no limitations, has the appetite of the lowest human creature one could imagine. If we were to write a story in fiction and submit it to some reviewer in New York, they'd say it's implausible. It can't happen. Not in America. But it has. And we're at a point where a president believes that if he can have people believe what's untrue that favors him, that's it. That's the disposition. At this point, it's impossible to believe that Trump was ignorant of what Epstein was doing. We've seen enough pictures, heard enough words, know of enough incidents Trump was involved in. A trial in Manhattan, and the people who came to it confirmed what a piece of shit this guy is. There's nothing more you can say about him except that. He would be the bully of the planet. And he was the bully, I'm sure, to women of younger and older age. And when it got too thick with accusations back and forth, he just simply denied it. He said, you tell a big lie, tell a bigger one than anybody else. Always deny that the circumstances are true when they're against you. So that's why this evening, as I'm walking, and this may not reach you because of bandwidth for a while afterwards, but there was a dinner planned, which as far as I know is still going forward, at the Vice President's residence. Not at the White House, not at one of the many rooms in the offices of the cabinet officers, the Vice President's home as Vice President. A building refurbished by Rockefeller many years ago. I've been there. It's a very attractive place. And the meeting is going to have Bondi, the Attorney General, Blanche, you may remember he visited with Maxwell, who coordinated with her co-conspirator Epstein these graphic and tragic assaults on the tender senses of a child. Patel will be there, and he seems to have been interested in this subject because of what he thought it would reveal, but maybe it's not doing that. Also White, and this is interesting, she is the chief of staff for the president. Now today, they were asked, because it was revealed in the press that this meeting was happening, and they asked and were told, oh, there's no meeting. Now, let me throw out a spectacular hypothetical. I say spectacular because there's no proof, no indication, nobody's whispered the words. But if I were to have a thought experiment here, if I were to test a hypothesis, it would go like this. Article 25, Section 4, provides that whenever the Vice President and either the principal offices of the Executive Department transmit to the President Pro Tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of office as acting President. Is that what's driving this meeting? Seems like a long reach, but is it? This is the most dramatic series of incidents in the Trump presidency. Nothing like this has happened before, in which the nation has recoiled from Trump and what they believe he did and what they believe is going on. And this is true of some MAGA supporters. This is true more so of independents. And it's certainly true of Republicans who thought that when they voted against him to become president. They asked Trump if he knew about the meeting. He didn't know about the meeting. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. We know Blanche Dubois, and obviously I'm playing loose with the rest of his name, Blanche, who met with Maxwell. He depended on the kindness of strangers, or a person not so much a stranger, because he knew Maxwell's counsel. They're friends. So consider the timeline here. They got Maxwell to talk for 2 days. No one has seen a transcript of what was said, but there are reports today that one of the things said, and consider the timing of this information, one of the things said was Maxwell didn't have any concern about anything that Trump did. Interesting. Now, we also have Maxwell, after the interview she had with Blanche, she also moved. Her custody moved from one place to another. Moved to basically a prison camp that would not admit a person with a 20-year sentence and would not admit someone with a sexual predator status, as is her want, as is her sufferance. So, what goes on here? Let's study it a little bit. Let's have another imagination, another thought experiment. So Trump wants Maxwell to say Trump did nothing of concern, or some other bullshit. Somewhere in those 2 days. So then Blanche talks to her, and he gets what he wants, and she's ready to give it. But what to do on the next step? How does she get locked in to say that without getting anything in exchange? And if she were just to say it without getting anything in exchange, she would never get it, not from Trump. Everybody just form a circle of, I don't know, nothing happened, I don't know anything. So, here's my hypothesis. Blanche and her attorney talk about how they deal with crossing this impasse in their relationship. Two sides that don't trust each other. How does Maxwell get what she wants and Trump gets what he wants? So you could imagine that Maxwell's attorney and Maxwell herself said, hey, you can't use anything I said to you unless you give me some good faith encouragement that it matters. That's how she ends up at a prison camp. That's how, after she ends up at a prison camp, we have a report. Oh, you know what she said about Trump? This is sort of a half step. So what's next? The pardon? The reduction in time to time served? What device is going to be the final act? And I don't think it'll be the final act, because this thing has a life of its own, because it feeds upon the conflict in America of who we are as a nation. Are we a nation that has a president who would do such a thing, associate with such conduct? Hey, was Trump ever a source of information about his friend? How many women came forward to talk about Trump? And when the FBI went and looked through all the records, all those agents, did they delete Trump's name? Did they destroy documents? We want to have an investigation. We need to investigate the Department of Justice. Now, let's talk a little bit about the transfer and what I expect the families and the victims of Trump and company. Say all the people in America who have sex predator status, having committed a crime comparable or as terrible as what Maxwell did. And probably she has the indoor world record for shameful, inhumane conduct of children. And so here you are, you're a prisoner, and you can't go to that prison camp because of your crime or the length of your sentence. And she can. How is this unequal apportionment explainable between Maxwell and all the others? Simple. The deal's been made. It's only a question of execution. Now, a funny thing happened on the way to the meeting tonight at the Vice President's home, and it is that he was asked a question, is the meeting going to be about Epstein? And he said, no, it's not. He didn't say, we might discuss the 25th Amendment. So what is the meeting really about? In the best case, it's about how do we deal with our scheme to protect the president from what he did, and keep him in office, or it's something much more dramatic and appropriate, given what an absolutely miserable president he's been before and without the Epstein matter being on the table. The Epstein matter is the cover story for many people who would not want to criticize Trump. But when you mix it in a sea of misconduct against the people, the voters, whether it be taking money from the middle class and giving it to the rich for tax purposes, cutting funds for education, cutting funds for health care, discriminating generally against any effort to take care of those who suffer discrimination. And front and center is the rogue of people, the rogue of agents out there basically doing the kind of bullying Trump would do if he wasn't so fat and old. So, apologies to other good people who are both fat and old, the saged among us. The president is a man whose time has come to leave. It is scary to think that he'd be replaced by Vance. It's possible. So we're just going to have to see how this unfolds. And we have to keep talking it up. Because these guys, they're in a rubber room now, bouncing off the walls, trying to make us believe that what Epstein did and any deal for Maxwell and what Trump knows and won't tell us, we should ignore all that stuff. That's yesterday's news. But it's not. Trump's his own worst enemy. He started this back in 2015 at least. And now he's paying the piper. It's not over. It's not over unless there's a reckoning. And we know how that reckoning should end. So that's what I got to say. And I hope to talk to you from the Cathedral of Trees tomorrow. Bye-bye.